Hello and welcome to the Wealth on Purpose podcast. It's here where you can navigate the important financial topics that you want to know about, designed with convenience in mind and a human tone of voice, communicated to you through real stories and a wealth of experience. This is Wealth on Purpose with Brian Diffily and Brian Hartmann.
Welcome, everybody, to a new edition of our humble podcast, Wealth on Purpose. Today, we have a pretty special guest, Brian. We have Tom Trouche, President and CEO of ServisFirst Bank.
I mean, it's a pleasure, right? And when we started to put together this podcast, it was a commitment to our audience, those of you who are listening today, that we were going to continue to add value, even if it was beyond the normal breadth of Granite Bridge's business. Right? People are so interested on various different topics. And so this is going to be our first of our kind of our expert panel that we bring in to give their insights on the world of business and entrepreneurship. In this case, for Tom, he's going to bring a wealth of knowledge in banking. So Tom, I'm going to brag about you because you're a real humble guy. You probably wouldn't do this, but we have the pleasure of doing it. Tom is a Charleston guy through and through, Bri.
Absolutely. I mean, we met Tom because his wife sold us this house when we were coming from 7 states away and had the patience to deal with the Diffily. So, and then met Tom a few times at a few backyard barbecues through some mutual friends, and just, had a friendship and just continued on, and then just got into, and after that layer was just quite established and implemented, found out how interesting of a guy you actually are, Tom, in your, acumen of the business industry, which obviously has an overlay of what we do. And then we just started chatting, and we're like, you come on our podcast, just, sort of dish some of these things out. I mean, let's just have some fun with this thing. So I think everyone had their coffee, so we probably have our topics here to go through.
Sure. Yeah. And since 1998, you've been building your knowledge in the banking industry, right? From a humble beginning as a mortgage banker. Is that right?
1988.
1980.
I wish it was 98. That would be 10 years younger than I am, but it would be 1988.
All right. So three adult sons.
Right.
And if they're listening, your dad speaks incredibly nice about you behind your backs.
Sure.
You met your wife here in Charleston.
Correct.
While you were in college together?
Correct. Yep. At the College of Charleston. She's from a little town outside of Athens, Georgia. Obviously, y'all's met her, and so it's been a great run, and we're still running.
If you know about Brian and my background, we're big into family.
Right.
We brought on a marketing company years ago that found the common thread of all of our clients. A lot of times wealth management firms will say, our clients are all worth more than $1 million. Our marketing company, when they took a deep dive, found out that all of our clients are very family centric. So you're joining a really good listening council on our side that can relate to you. Before we get into it, you're a banker by day, but at night you have a really cool hobby, a bit of an amateur chef. Now going in and telling us all your secrets, what's your favorite thing to cook?
Cook or burn? I love creating anything. If it was one area of the world that I could put for the rest of my life, it'd be Italian. Because I love Italian wines. I'm also a sommelier at heart, but I know what I like, but I can't articulate it like a sommelier. So I think they actually just mix up something. Just get a thesaurus, talk about, is it fruit forward or whatever. I'm like, I don't know. It's really good, and I like it. It goes with that.
It is incredible, their wealth of knowledge. I mean, I actually hear that a master sommelier is one of the most difficult tests
Absolutely.
to pass, period. Like in our industry, in other industries, is like, that's the goal. And I think it's a very small percentage of people that actually pass it are sommeliers, especially master sommeliers. So yeah, I'm with you.
So let's talk about, now I'm starving. It's
What's hard is it?
Yeah,
It's next podcast about a red wine.
yeah, far too early for a glass of wine.
Yeah.
So let's satisfy the appetite of our audience of tapping into your knowledge, if you'll allow us to. So Tom, you've walked alongside businesses from start to finish for your career, helping them get started all the way to helping them exit and sell their businesses. Brian and I talked to a lot of people, coast to coast, not just here in the Charleston market, and people are describing the business environment as just different, right? They're not going into too much depth behind that, but they just feel like the current environment that we're in is different. I don't know if that's because they're new to being in business. They probably don't have the experience that you'd have. You look back 5 and 10, 15 years, How is business different today, or is it really different at all?
I guess it's always evolving, but I would say technology has made most of the changes in a lot of ways. One is that instant gratification that you want it now. And that doesn't necessarily translate to somebody in the trades, which I'm a big fan of folks in the trade, especially in the low country market. And the plumber is going to be it, the electrician, that HVAC person, that they're busy and you can't have it. You can't order them on Amazon.
Yes.
So technology, yes, that's changed a lot. It's been very helpful. It's also has got some concerns, fraud, things like that people need to be aware of. But other than that, I think it's just working very hard and selling a good product or a good service and being honest and working harder than the person next to you. It's pretty simple.
It's funny that you bring up the trades because we were on our Zoom this morning talking about plumbers and other tangible businesses and industries and kind of how important it is for them to evolve and grow. And just, when they do the tap with a wrench on your pipe and fix a problem, and they deserve every dollar that they make. But our industry collectively as the two-dimensional one, right? The intangible. I think some people sort of give their license to sort of back off some of the layers of protection and privacy. We tend to think, and I imagine everyone at this table, like we need a little more optics on those types of things. It's just, because to your point, fraud, right? Never underestimate a criminal mind, like you said. I mean, it's just, very unfortunately, our industry gets ransacked by those folks, whether it be folks or AI, whatever it is. We got to have your dukes up. And, fight tech with tech, right? And fight ethics with non-ethics. And, hopefully the good guys always.
Yeah. And I would say in the fraud piece, as I mentioned to you earlier, we budget for fraud every year.
Wow.
Banks get attacked. Think about it. I mean,
sure.
And you said, do not underestimate the criminal mind. And there's so many. I've been in the banking business 37 years. I can tell you one thing that's changed a lot is people don't write a lot of checks anymore. Every time you write a check, you mail that check to somebody, you have every piece of information that a criminal needs. It's got your name or your business name, the address, the bank name, the bank's routing number, and your account number. That's all they need.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways to get around that if you insist on writing checks. I mean, there's products, positive pay, or if you insist on writing checks, there's things called positive pay, or do it ACH, automatic clearinghouse. And even with that, still have everybody's doing it via internet. You're sitting there on your iPad right now. Well, who knows who's tapped into who's watching your email address right now?
Right.
And those business owners, it's amazing what we see. It is a regular, I don't want to make it sound like it's every day, but it occurs more than you would think. And it's frightening, the attacks that people get. And, an owner of a business sitting in one office and that person's controller is sitting in the other office, and the controller sends us an email and say, I need to wire Brian Diffily $1,000 for X. And oh, by the way, Brian Hartmann's approved it. Well, no, he didn't approve it.
Right.
It's the email's been hacked. So it's just amazing. So that's where I guess where I'm going with this is that change in business is technology can be your friend, but it also can, if you're not watching the back door.
We talk a lot about having our clients' backs, right? Like having our backs. You just described it without saying. It's like, hey, if we're a plumber, we're out there making it happen for our company, growing and providing for our families. It's great to have a partner who's taking care of the money, right? Like you and your company do, that's paying attention to and is aware of the threats that are out there.
Right.
Maybe it just helps them sleep a little bit.
Well, if you know your banker, have a good relationship with a banker, and if they have not offered you positive pay and all those protections yet, you need to go in and ask them why. Because that is really important for you as a small business. And that's, again, the focus right here to me, which is 90% of the South Carolina market in the Tri-County area of Charleston is small business. That's what drives it. And they just need to know all the protections that they can get out there.
Perfect. So every time I hear this statistic, you just harped on small business and how important it is to our local community. But small business in general makes up 44% of the GDP in the United States.
Yeah.
That's way more than the average American knows, right? You think like the big companies are kind of controlling everything, but almost half of the GDP is created by small businesses. For our audience, that's businesses that do less than $40 million of revenue a year, have less than 1,500. You touched on the importance of having a relationships, right?
Yep.
How important is that relationship for a small business as they get started, as they continue to grow, to have a really great relationship with a banker who knows the business personally like you do? How important is that for them to have that?
Well, first off, the state of the obvious, not everything's going to go the way you think it's going to go. Sorry. I mean, I've had lots of people put their business plans down in front of me. And by the way, I've never seen a business plan that someone put in front of me that they're not making money and not making money quickly.
Right.
So, I mean, but that there's so many variables that are thrown at you, weather and inflation or stagflation or deflation or recession, just it happens. And it happens to the best of us. You better have a relationship with someone who knows you and knows your good character and knows that they'll work with you in the depths as well. It's easy to make somebody when they're making money and doing great, but when there's that dip and they've got to make payroll on every second Thursday, but their payables have been stretched out to 90 to 120 days, that's when you better know your banker. Really simple.
That's a really excellent point because, I mean, we're talking about, small businesses. We're talking about roofers, landscapers, gym owners, mechanics, bakeries, I mean, the whole lot of them. And they have to have some sort of a knowledge of everything that you talked about. Like, not just up front, cherry picking. This is what we're doing. It's like, well, we need the track record.
Right.
And you got to get your business acumen up. So,
and you think about their mindset. They're not that electrician,
right?
He or she, they don't wake up thinking about their banking
course,
right?
Course.
They think about, okay, I got to go to the Diffily's house and put in and install. They're building a wing on their house, so I got to put in new electricity or new electrical system. That's what they're thinking about. But along the way, well, I've got to buy the supplies. I got to pay the people, all that. So if you don't want to think about your banking, you don't want to think about your financial people that are helping you financially. And when you get to retire and you're building your nest egg, you want to think about what's driving your revenue.
That's the partnership, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Simple. It's not that difficult.
No, but and it doesn't matter what your widget is,
right?
There's so much enthusiasm. We have it. We're guilty of it sometimes, being over enthusiastic about our potential and our growth.
Right.
And to have someone who kind of brings you back down to earth and goes, guys, it's not always going to be great, right? When the bumps are there,
right,
we'll be there for you, right? It's the same value proposition that we give to individuals. I don't necessarily know what the economy has in store. We also don't know what your life has in store for you. But when there is a speed bump, you want to be one of the first calls you make so we can help you get through it. Sounds like same thing as a small business owner, right?
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, well said. I mean, not, turning your nose up to not always a smooth street, recognizing the potholes and just, navigating with them or fixing them and getting people through it.
That's funny about the business plan thing. I've never heard anybody say that before. I've never seen a business plan where you're losing money.
Yeah. People I'm interviewing for a job. They're bringing their A game.
That's right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not Homer Simpson walking in.
Stain on their shirt.
Right.
They're looking good.
Sure. Sure.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. We do know that there's a lot of entrepreneurial attitude that's still left in the U.S. economy. Right? The spirit of growth and wanting to prosper is still alive and well. We hear it when we talk to our clients who are at like all stages of their life. We have clients who are considering just starting like small businesses in retirement. I worked for a big company my whole life. I wanted to test my waters and go do a hobby job. We also hear it from our clients, maybe lending money to our children, opening a small business or starting a company.
Get a lot of that, quite frankly. I'm getting a lot of that. Yep.
Yeah. Like, kids thinking that mom and dad are the endless piggy bank or whatever it is. So here's a question. This is really broad. So take this wherever you want to take it. But someone you cared about was starting a new business today. What would be some general advice that you would give them as they're getting started on the 1 yard line?
Plan on not making money for a while. Beans and rice for have a reasonable plan that is, I'll articulate this, that is not pie in the sky. Plan on not taking vacations for about the first 2 years, and working hard and building up. Again, I know that sounds so simplistic, but it really is. It's blocking and tackling. It just
Right.
and have a product, obviously a product or service that you think the market wants, and taking it to market. And it's the take it to the market piece. So middle son is in the learning to the construction trade with Ariel's brother, and I'm encouraging, I hope he gets his electrical certification. I said, you go out and to use an example, you go out and you might not want to become an electrician, but I would sure support you to go do it, because can you get an electrician on the phone right now?
Right.
At your house right now?
No way.
And no. And God bless them. I know some of they're great people.
Yeah.
They're so busy. They don't know where I'm going with this is. So if you get it, get into something that you like, play to your strengths too. We all have strengths and weaknesses. Play to your strengths and sound like I'm preaching, but it's really simple. And I don't want to diminish what y'all do, what we do, whatever, but it's simple. Just work hard.
Yeah, work hard.
And have realistic expectations and prepare for the unexpected, and have a little reserve. 6 months reserve, I've heard, is a good number of cash, just so that you can withstand a hurricane where we are or whatever. Make sure you got the right insurance. Make sure you got the right banker and advisors when you do ring the bell, and that's where y'all come in.
It's a really good point, Todd, because just thinking around the corner, or like not just and it's amazing to be optimistic as an entrepreneur, but you need to be, to your point, realistic, right? A lot of people put stock in 90-day plans or 2-year plans, 5-year plans, but also just saying like, hey, the building we're in right now, it's raised up, right? There's a reason why it's raised up.
Correct.
Right. In South Carolina, you raise houses for a reason. So it's like just thinking ahead of like, okay, we don't think water's ever going to, but let's make sure that we can accommodate the worst part of it. And then so we can tango on. So we don't have 900 setbacks to try to trudge through and clean it up. Not saying that we can't, but why deal with it if we have to? And just being realistic and keeping that, nose to the grindstone, as they say, right?
Right. Again, for the third time, it's not that difficult. It's hard work, and dealing with you're going to have ups and downs. It's anybody can do well when you're up. It's who's dealing when you're in the trough.
Mm-hmm.
How do you deal with that? That's it.
And I say, people have different feelings about people who have reached success. Right? So you think about someone who maybe just, was a one employee company. Maybe now they're selling their company years down the road, making lots of money. We always just like to acknowledge the work that goes into that. There are definitely boardroom decisions that are made within a business. There's a lot of kitchen table decisions that a family needs to make when they're starting a business and when they're in a business. Mostly held family business, it may say, to your point, are we going on vacation this year as a family? Or are we going to go buy that vehicle that the business so much needs to be able to go to the next level? Right? We just love to pay attention to those things because as people feel differently about people who have money and have made success for themselves, we just think as part of our core values, like you just honor where it started, the risk that the family took before maybe the business even took it on, right? You probably hear that. Like, so important just to have that support system, not only at your boardroom, but also at your kitchen table.
Yeah, very much, very much. Actually, one anecdotal piece that someone taught me, and it's pretty interesting. And this is off on a little tangent, but when you go call on a small business, that person that's usually sitting at the front door, be nice to them. Guess what? Because they're probably a family member.
Yeah.
And when the minute you leave, that the other family, hey, how was Brian when he was sitting there? The small talk, was he nice? Was he?
Mm-hmm. 100%.
Yeah.
And same thing with the phones, right? You don't know who's picking up that phone.
But it's a family business, and that's what I do. That's which I prefer to deal with, and that's almost 99% of what we deal with of privately owned businesses. And yes, it's a family or two families or whatever, and they've worked very hard, and there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears from a lot of people in the family, and which leads to what y'all do is that a lot of them, it's great to see, and it's happening all the time. I'll stick to the trades, these people in the trades, and they've worked very, very hard building that HVAC company. Yeah. Well, they get bought up.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden they're like, well, I've been working 70 hours a week for the last 30 years, and now I've got this nice little nest egg. What the H am I doing with all this money? Where do I go now?
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's not what they did for a living. And they need the people to say, all right, this is you built your wealth and you want to retire and you want to leave some to your family. And I see a lot of that from small businesses.
Yeah. They need to reverse engineer the next chapter of their lives.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially if they're younger folks, 40s, 50s, even 60s, you're like, look, I got a runway here.
Right.
Like, I want to enjoy myself. The beach is right there.
Right.
But again, like, how much sand can I really kick up? So yeah, just sort of and we talk a lot about too, just getting into the human condition, like after the successes have happened monetarily on the balance sheets, right? And after you've sat at that kitchen table and drawn up the business plan on a piece of loose leaf or a napkin, now you are knocking on the door of some serious success, and it gets bought out. Okay, now how do I handle this? Because that could be another overwhelming wave of, geez, now this thing actually worked and got off the ground. I got to make sure I put all the puzzle pieces together. Am I following the image that I actually want for myself? So that's and actually it's a really fun, can be daunting, but should be a fun conversation to have, because that's where the wood gets chopped.
Right. Well, and for a shameless plug for our bank, that is we leave that sort of thing to the experts. We deal with the business when they're growing, and when they've reach that level where it's time to, we might help the person who's buying it. We'll take it from there, but y'all will take the person. And I've seen it. I know I have very good friends. I've one friend who just can't say, but just sold his business, and he's down the Abacos right now, and he's enjoying his, let's do the math, 40 years of working very hard, and the ups and the downs, and it very much, you just described it. Kitchen table stuff, and he's trying to figure out, okay, once that Abacos trip comes back, he's go, all right, now what? Yeah. What do I do, and how do I manage it and give some to my children and pass on and be healthy, and then you have to prepare for unfortunately things happen and health issues, and where do we go from there? And I mean, that's another thing. A lot of people who don't, which we've seen, do not prepare for the business owners that retirement. What's the word I'm looking for? Assisted living.
Oh yeah.
Oh sure.
And the expense, it's frightful. It is frightful, and that's where I see business owners and people get in trouble, because they didn't prepare for that long-term assisted living, and someone unfortunately gets sick or something.
Well, it's a real thing, and we talk about it not only on this podcast, but with our clients individually. We have to bring it up, because it's the one thing that can rock the best, well thought out, most tailored financial plan, at least on our side of things, and can really put a damper on those, golden years. So it's something that can be taken off the table risk-wise pretty much if it's dealt with far ahead of time. But to your point, when these folks are running 100 miles an hour, they're not thinking about them being 85 years old, 90 with their feet up, and they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about, what's the next board meeting? How are we going to move the needle this way for either our people, this company, our stockholders, whatever the situation is, and focusing on that. But yeah, that's where the relationship with someone like you, Tom, someone like us, having that holistic life thought process, like and forcing successful people to think about these things, that maybe either it's uncomfortable or maybe they're indifferent to it, but they're just so hyper focused. That's why they're so successful on what's making them successful. They're like, I'm not thinking about that stuff right now.
Right.
So yeah.
So here's how we'll take it home, because we have this mutual kind of thing going on. And if I'm a listener, I'm going, okay, how does this all come together? It comes together because we're going to encourage people to have partners in their life.
Correct.
And we talk about financial team. Ryan covers the bases. his division about protecting the four, right? To insurance protection, making sure that our business owners are protected from a business, but also their families are. Guys, we've been talking about it. When people have attained the wealth and our savings, that's really where my role comes in. Your role comes in when they need funding for their business and to have that acumen that you can deliver so clearly. This is what folks need, right? It's a team of advisors. And we always encourage, don't keep us a secret from each other, right? If you have your banker, they should be talking to your financial advisor. They should be talking to the accountant, all those kinds of things, because what one hears, maybe the other ones also need to too. Hey, by the way, I had a conversation with, Jane and Harry. They brought up that they're scared to death. Yeah, we should just bring you guys in to start having those conversations.
I'd also say those trusted partners, your bank. If you don't have your banker's cell phone number, that's not your banker. No, seriously. If you run a business, you want to call somebody in a pinch. Says, hey, our truck broke down. I'm at the dealership. What do I do? Go, and you have that cell phone. You're not going through a level. Same as y'all. You've got to have that connection. That's where technology helps now.
That's where tech. I mean, that is the impression that I get from ServisFirst, by the way. And even walking inside your walls and all the smiles, it's like these people advocate for their clients. But obviously, if they have your cell phones, they're more than just clients. You're caring about these people. I know I'll be lambasted by sounding hokey with saying that, but my God, why can't we say that? We care about our clients. What's wrong with that? You care about a lot of things. You should care about what you're spending 8 to 10 hours a day on every single day. These human beings are looking up to you for a reason.
Everyone else has their cell phone number.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, I'm sticking to the trades. That HVAC. What is you're calling? Hey, Brian, it's 6 a.m. on Sunday, and my blah blah blah. What they're called? They're probably called their cell phone number.
It means something, right?
Right.
Yeah, it means something.
It is cool to be personal in some businesses that don't have to be.
Right.
Really take that.
Dealing with small businesses if that's where it gets personal. Obviously, if you're banking a Fortune 500 company, that's a whole different animal. Right? And there's some people that are above my pay grade that deal with that. And that's great. Good for them. I'll stick to the singles and doubles.
And I also wondered, those Fortune 500 folks, how many of those kitchen table business plans were made on the back of a loose leaf? Probably a lot, right? And we actually know of some of them because they've been on, 60 Minutes. So I can imagine how many more have. Right. Yeah, I mean, humble beginnings to, grand slams. It's just, and everything along the way.
So we're going to take it home. Tom, thank you so much for being our guest. For those who are listeners, if you ever need to get in touch with Tom, reach out to Brian and I, reach out to Julie at sayhello@granitebridgewealth.com. We'll encourage you, continue to listen to the podcast. We're also doing webinars throughout the year to keep our clients, customers, friends, family members informed about what's going on in the economy. We'll continue to bring on experts in different fields like Tom, who we consider to be our partners in the journey of delivering really great financial advice to you all. And again, thanks so much for being here, Tom. It was a pleasure having you in Omni Studios, and we'll catch you again soon.
Excellent. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Wealth on Purpose. Thanks, everyone, for listening. See you next time.
Thank you for stopping by the Wealth on Purpose podcast. Your visit is very important to us. If you feel that you got something from your time, please consider subscribing and/or liking. For more, please visit us on granitebridgewealth.com, where a wealth of knowledge awaits.